The icy wind howled like a banshee through the skeletal trees, whipping snow into frenzied dances across the desolate landscape. In the heart of the Carpathian Mountains, where the sun rarely shone and the dead leaves lay frozen in time, a desperate mother clutched her dying child close, seeking solace against the unforgiving cold. Her name was Serenia Leorin, and her son Aurelian had fallen gravely ill, succumbing to the merciless grip of the winter. With each labored breath, he grew weaker, his small body racked with coughs that echoed the mournful cry of the blizzard. "Hold on, my love," Serena whispered, her voice hoarse with fatigue and worry. "Just a little longer, my precious Ori." She knew that the end was near. The village healer had warned her there was no cure for her son's ailment, and as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long, ominous shadows, they were left at the mercy of the elements. Sensing her son's impending demise, Serena began to sing, a haunting melody that resonated with the sorrow of the winter wind. It was an ancient lullaby, one that had been passed down through generations of her ancestors, the Lorians, whose blood carried the essence of ancient witches. Each note she sang was a plea to the heavens, a desperate attempt to hold on to her son a little longer. But even as she sang, she felt the coldness seeping into Aurelian's tiny frame, sapping the warmth from his cheeks, stealing the life from his eyes. As the song reached its crescendo, a sudden gust of wind slammed against them, stealing her son from her grasp. Serena cried out, her voice lost in the roar of the blizzard. And then, as if in answer to her desperate plea, the clouds parted, revealing a sliver of moonlight that sliced through the darkness. And from the corner of her eye, she saw a figure emerging from the swirling snow, striding towards them with an otherworldly grace. Fear and hope warred within her as the stranger drew closer. His features were sharp, almost predatory, and his eyes glowed with an eerie blue light that seemed to pierce the very essence of her being. As he came closer, Serena saw the intricate patterns of frost adorning his skin, a testament to the freezing cold that had no hold over him. Even in the dim moonlight, she could see the dangerous allure of his appearance, the hint of power that radiated from every step he took. With a final surge, he reached them and knelt beside her son, his gaze intense and unwavering. Without hesitation, he took Aurelian from her, cradling the child as if he weighed nothing. And in that moment, Serena knew that fate had taken a decisive turn. Whatever this enigmatic figure's intentions may be, they were about to become inextricably linked to his and her son's destinies forever. His name was Valrith Zephyros, the most feared alpha vampire in existence, and the undisputed lord of Castle Nocturne, a fortress cloaked in eternal shadows, hidden deep within the Carpathian Mountains. He was a creature of the night, both revered and dreaded throughout the realm. His kind were said to be immortal, their blood carrying the secrets of eternity, their powers as boundless as the darkness that cradled them. And here he was, standing before Serena, his presence as chilling as the winter's embrace, yet strangely compelling. His piercing blue eyes, devoid of any flicker of fear or hesitation, met hers directly. In that moment, Serena saw not just an immortal predator, but a glimmer of hope in the face of despair. as she watched him cradle her son, a sense of urgency coursing through her. She knew that every second counted. This vampire, with his unearthly powers and chilling aura, held their fate in his hands, and whatever his decision may be, it would reverberate through eternity. Valrith turned to Serena, his gaze intense and unwavering. "You seek my aid," he stated, his voice a low growl that rumbled like distant thunder. "Why should I help you? Your kind has persecuted mine for centuries." Serena's resolve hardened. "My son needs your help. He is dying, and I am willing to do whatever it takes to save him." Her voice echoed with desperation, but also with a steely determination that belied her frail appearance. Valrith's eyes flickered with something akin to surprise. It was a fleeting expression, quickly masked by his usual stoicism. "Very well," he finally said, his voice a low rumble. "You may bring your son to Castle Nocturne. I will offer him sanctuary until he is well." Relief washed over Serena, but she remained wary. Sanctuary within the fortress of an alpha vampire was a precarious bargain, fraught with potential perils. Still, she had little choice. Trusting in his words, she nodded curtly. "Thank you," she said, her voice laced with gratitude. "I won't presume to ask for more, but I hope that one day our people may find peace." As Serena and Valrith prepared to leave, Aurelian stirred, his eyes fluttering open. "Mother," he whispered, his voice weak. "She, my love." Serena hushed him, her gaze fixed on the vampire. "We are leaving now. Don't try to speak." Valrith, with surprising gentleness, lifted Aurelian into his arms, cradling the child as if he were a fragile work of art. His touch, despite its coldness, seemed to soothe the boy, calming his ragged breathing ever so slightly. They disappeared into the swirling snow, leaving behind the remnants of the blizzard, and with it the fading hope of a new dawn. Castle Nocturne loomed before them, an imposing structure of dark stone that seemed to have been carved from the shadows themselves. Its towering spires scraped against the leaden sky, and an eerie silence hung round it, broken only by the whisper of the wind through the gnarled trees. As they stepped inside, Serena found herself enveloped in an atmosphere of cool air that sent shivers down her spine, despite the biting cold outside within the castle walls. Everything was still and silent, like the world itself was holding its breath. The interior of the castle was a labyrinth of shadowy corridors and cavernous halls, each step echoing with an unsettling sound that seemed to amplify the silence. All around her, strange symbols were etched into the walls, their meanings lost to the sands of time. They depicted creatures of myth and nightmares, their eyes gleaming with an otherworldly light as they ventured deeper into the castle. Serena couldn't shake off the feeling that they were being watched, that unseen eyes followed their every move, judging, assessing. It was a sensation that made the hairs on the back of her neck stand on end, a constant reminder of the castle's enigmatic nature. Then, suddenly, the silence was shattered. A guttural growl echoed through the halls, followed by the clatter of heavy footsteps. And from the darkness ahead, a pair of glowing eyes emerged, followed by the hulking form of a wolf, its teeth bared in a snarl. Before Serena could react, Valrith stepped forward, his presence radiating an icy calm. "Shadowfang, cease," he commanded, his voice echoing with authority. The wolf snarled once more, then melted back into the shadows, disappearing from sight as silently as it had come. Valrith turned to Serena, his eyes meeting hers directly. "This is but a small part of what you're about to see," he said, his voice a low growl. "Are you still sure you wish to remain?" Serena met his gaze without flinching. "I have no choice," she whispered, her voice firm with resolve. "My son's life is in your hands, Lord Zephyros, and for that I am eternally grateful." Their journey through the castle continued, each step bringing them deeper into a world of shadows and secrets. In the grand hall of Castle Nocturne, surrounded by the spectral glow of moonstones embedded in the walls, Serene stood transfixed as a court of supernatural beings assembled before her. Creatures of myth and legend, vampires, shapeshifters, and ethereal beings known as the Lunari, all gathered in anticipation. Leading them was Valrith Zephyros, the alpha vampire, his presence commanding respect and a hint of reverence. At his side stood an imposing figure cloaked in shadow, his features obscured, yet his eyes burning with an inner fire. Beside them were beings of pure energy, the Lunari, their forms shimmering like starlight and shifting with an otherworldly grace. Then, as if sensing Serena's awe, Valrith turned, his piercing blue eyes locking onto hers. "This is my court," he stated, his voice echoing with power. "And today we welcome 2 new members." He gestured towards Serena and her son. "Liar's Fall, meet the Court of Shadows." As introductions were made, Serena's mind reeled at the sheer diversity of the supernatural beings gathered before her. Each had their own unique allure, their own place in the intricate web of the supernatural world. Yet amidst the swirl of introductions, she couldn't help but notice the underlying tension that hummed beneath the surface. There were veiled threats, pointed glances, and an undercurrent of unease that Serena couldn't quite decipher. Amongst them all, one figure stood apart, shrouded in an aura of mystery and power. The cloaked individual remained silent, their face hidden, yet their presence dominated the room. Even Valrith seemed to defer to this enigmatic figure, treating them with a respect that bordered on reverence. As the introductions continued, Serena felt a growing sense of unease. It was as if the very foundations of the castle were thrumming with a hidden energy. Then suddenly, as if sensing her thoughts, Valrith turned to her, his gaze intense. "There is much you don't know," he said, his voice low. "But for now, you must trust that you are safe within these walls." His words were barely finished when a piercing screech tore through the hall, echoing with an otherworldly urgency. All eyes turned towards the source of the sound, as a being of pure energy. A Lunari staggered into the room, their form flickering with a malevolent light. "It's Erinder," the Lunari gasped, their voice trembling with urgency. "He is here." A chill swept through the court as recognition dawned on their faces. Erinder, the ruthless king who had relentlessly pursued Serena and her son, had arrived. The weight of their dire situation pressed heavily upon her, yet Serena's spirit refused to break. With a deep breath, she straightened her shoulders, determined to face whatever challenges lay ahead with courage and resilience.